So this is Black Enterprise Magazine, okay? And they're going to talk about Carmelo Anthony pictured here in his graduation outfit. And then, of course, we have Austin Metcalf, and we found the thuggiest picture we could find, and we stuck it in there.
Which
All
he doesn't even look thuggy in it. He looks like he's from a teen girl magazine or whatever. Like
right, but it
he looks
is the
like
thuggiest they could find.
he looks like Leonardo DiCaprio from back in the day, you know.
So it says, if we're asking who taught Carmelo Anthony, we must also ask what kind of parents raised Austin Metcalf. You know where this is going, right?
Yep.
So they're going to train their guns on Austin's parents here. Why? Well, they're mad about the way that
Which,
Anthony or Carmelo is being treated.
by the way, Austin Metcalf's dad came out immediately and said, "Do not turn this into a race thing." You know, he gave forgiveness immediately. You know,
Mhm. Oh,
he seems to be doing all the right things and trying to make it not into a race thing, and they're still trying to turn it into a race thing.
yeah, hold that thought. Hang on here. It starts, I'm not trying to judge, but what kind of parents did this child have? That was what Jeff Metcalf said, right? When this thing first
Mhm.
happened, right? So his kid gets stabbed to death by another kid. And the
Yep.
first thing he says, so what kind of parents, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's
It's a
a lot of us would say the same
great question.
thing. Metcalf, a white high school student from Texas, was fatally stabbed during a confrontation with another student, and we all know Carmelo Anthony, who's black. The incident occurred during a track meet in Frisco, that's in Texas, North Texas. I'm somewhat familiar with the town, where reports suggest the altercation began after Metcalf attempted to remove Anthony from an area under his school's tent. Okay, and I think pretty much everybody kind of knows that.
Yeah.
We don't care about the bond, although that was a big brouhaha that shouldn't have been. I have no issue with them lowering the bond.
I
If
said the same thing. I thought I was the only person on Twitter that did not have a problem with them lowering the bond. Everyone
yeah,
else was, like, all up in arms, and I'm like, Why? They do that all the like, first
mhm,
of all, it wasn't premeditated that we know of. He didn't go there with he didn't know this kid ahead of time. He didn't plan to murder somebody that day, so it makes sense that they lowered the bond.
yeah, and there's a little chance that he's going to be able to like skip bail and
Yeah,
stay away from the law for very long,
yeah.
right? I mean, now keep in mind, Kyle Rittenhouse did $2 million bond. They seem to forget that, but
They
okay.
don't care about that. Yeah.
They wanted him to not have any,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay. And Metcalf's father went on television and asked, what was he taught? He brought a knife to a track meet and he murdered my son by stabbing him in the heart. Okay. That's what he thinks.
Mhm.
As the father, he's allowed to think that.
Yes.
It's a familiar script, the suspicion, the blame. Yeah. The scrutiny of the other child's upbringing.
Yeah.
Okay. you know um but it goes down. But I wonder, what if we turned that question around? What kind of parents raised Austin Metcalf? And this is the perfect embodiment of two wrongs don't make a right.
It's
Okay,
projection.
well, I mean, like, they're making fun of Carmelo, or they're criticizing Carmelo's parents, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's wrong. It's wrong. That doesn't mean you get to do that to Jeff Metcalf. It's just like, they're looking for an excuse to be able to do this.
I
When
disagree. I don't think it's wrong to question how Carmelo Anthony was raised. When somebody gets stabbed at a track meet, it's a good question to say, "Well, how was this kid raised?"
well, I guess I should be
I
more
think it's an
careful. What
okay
I was
question.
referring to was like the stories that have been emanating out
Yeah.
about the parents that were unfounded, or like
Oh, yeah.
maybe they're true, but come on, you got to find out first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Because whenever a black youth is killed, the country performs its well rehearsed ritual of digging into their home life, school performance, their behavior, their photos, their parents. They do this to everybody,
Mhm.
you know. The dude that took a shot at the president, guess what? They looked into his parents,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
his school
They
life and
all,
his home life and yeah.
mhm. America never mourns the loss of black life, right? Because whenever a black person is killed, nobody seems to pay any attention to it,
Mhm.
right? I mean, we never protest, take to the streets,
No.
and
We've never set whole cities on fire. for in the year 2020 for that. Not at all.
Mhm. So where did Austin Metcalf's parents go wrong? This kind of presumes that Austin's at fault, right? Oh my gosh. What kind of household raises a boy like Austin? A boy who, according to witnesses,
Which witnesses?
yeah, used a racial slur during a
Car
conversation.
as far as I know, Carmelo is the only person that says that this happened. Because apparently that's a get out of jail free card. Well, he said a word that I didn't like, so I
By the way,
stabbed him.
did even Carmelo say it?
I don't know where
I
that
don't
even
think
came.
even he said it. I mean, it's new to me.
And even if he did, it's a word. It's a
Yeah.
word. And if you are so sensitive about a word in the English language that you're going to murder someone, you have issues, not the guy that said the word.
It goes on. What kind of parents raise a child who allegedly called another student the N word? Reports circulating on social media, because you can always trust that,
Yeah.
suggest that Metcalf hurled that word at Anthony.
Man, that allegedly in that first sentence is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
It always does. If true, that wasn't just a word, it was a weapon. No, it's a
No,
word,
it's still a word.
a centuries old threat, a verbal heirloom of white dominance, sharpened to remind Black children of their place in American society. All this from an alleged claim
Yeah.
that I have never even seen.
I don't know which witnesses said this.
Yeah, it's not in the police report.
No, it's not. Yeah, absolutely. I
And this
assumed it came from Carmelo, and that's an assumption on my part.
and this raises the thing that we were talking about before the show started, is that the police come and they go in and they start to interview people,
Mhm.
right? And what they hear from these witnesses, they put in the police report.
Yeah.
If you didn't go to the police and tell them what you saw, your description of what happened is going to be very suspect.
Mhm.
Because when you go on the stand, they're going to shred you. Why didn't you tell the police this? Why are you coming out after the fact?
Yes.
And we saw this before with Michael Brown,
Well, and
they
like
got the
Kenosha Cat says in the chat, they didn't want to say that a skateboard was a weapon, but now a word is a weapon? What? Yeah.
but when confronted with that possibility, Austin's father went on TV and said, "This is not a race thing. This is not a political thing. How dare he?"
Yeah.
And there it is, folks, the white American default. Erase race the moment it becomes inconvenient. It was never supposed to be an issue to begin with.
The day after,
Mhm.
Austin Metcalf's dad was saying, "This is not a race thing. This is a human thing." So it's like nobody's bringing up race but them. I mean, I guess the pundits and Twitter people are bringing up race, but the family and the police are not.
No, no, I mean, not at all. I
Yeah,
mean, nobody that matters brought it up.
exactly.
Yeah, some 14-year-old kid in his basement might be talking to others about it, but who cares? You're never going to stop that.
I might have brought it up on my channel, but I'm nobody, so that doesn't matter what
Oh,
I say.
so you're the one they're complaining about.
They are. But I always say I'm not a journalist, so I just get on the internet and talk about crimes and stuff.
Okay, we'll skip down a little bit. What kind of white parents raised a boy who reportedly put his hands on another student and tried to police where he could sit at a school event? Um, you don't get to stab somebody for that.
Yeah.
A boy who, along with his twin, posed proudly in multiple photos holding what appears to be, oh no, the AR-15.
They were hunting. They
That's
were
right.
hunting those
They're
photos.
dressed in camo. Oh my, they going hunt. They were dressed in camo.
Yeah, their father said they took the boys hunting the weekend before this happened, and he was so happy to have had the time with his sons. They were literally hunting. I don't know what they were hunting. I did they say they were hunting hogs, or is that just a figment of my imagination? But either way,
Um,
they were
well,
hunting.
hogs would make sense in Texas because the AR-15 is a very good hog killer.
Yeah.
In fact, it's the best. Here they are. They were
And
staring
also,
boldly
who
and
doesn't
dead-eyed.
have an AR-15, really?
Yeah, I mean, I've got two of them.
Yeah, I mean, I lost mine in a boating accident, but yeah.
Oh no, that's terrible. Man, I like to find out where that lake is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do some dredging. And by the way, in that photograph, they were staring coldly and dead-eyed into the camera.
What? Okay.
Well, right. I mean, what kind of like how else can you look into how else can you appear in a photograph
Yeah.
other than dead-eyed?
I do wanna point something out that I just noticed in this article.
What's
They
that?
When they're using the word black as a descriptor, they're
Mhm.
capitalizing it, but when they use
Oh,
the word
yeah.
white in this paragraph, they're not capitalizing it, and I just think that's interesting, for a journal or like an actual journalist editor or something like that to do that. That's done on purpose is what I'm saying.
I think that might even be a style for like AP or something like that. It's yeah, it's so ingrained.
Yep,
Oh, and by the way, the posture of these kids show that they have already decided who the enemy is.
obviously.
Mhm.
Posture's a
Like,
big thing.
they're probably saying, "Yeah, we're hogs," because that's what we were killing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. There are also social media posts circulating online of Metcalf flashing the middle finger and showing off weapons. And this is what's hilarious because
Wait
take
a
a look.
minute. I haven't seen those photos. I've seen Carmelo Anthony posing with weapons and flipping off a camera. I have not
You like
seen
that?
any. Yeah, those are the pictures I saw, yes. I have not seen any of Austin Metcalf flipping off the camera.
Okay. So now why do you think this happened here?
I don't know.
I think what happened was this journalist is just coming off of what she heard and
Mhm.
she got the names confused.
Yeah, like when Kyle Rittenhouse killed 3 black people in Kenosha, by shooting them from behind.
Yeah, we're gonna have a video clip of that, by the
Yeah,
way.
shooting them in the
Yeah.
back. That's
Oh
what I
my
heard
god.
anyway.
But you won't see those images in the mainstream media. That's because I don't think they existed.
That I don't
There
think they exist either. If they existed, they would be all over the internet.
Austin is presented in his Sunday best, excuse me, smiling in a suit and tie, standing beside his father, or captured mid-stride as a wholesome student athlete. Because when white boys die, their image is curated, softened, sanitized. Hang on.
The projection in this article is incredible. This is incredible. Okay.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
okay, I will admit there's a reason why when you see these victims, if you want to call them victims, not this guy's not a victim. He's an absolute thug. But when you see these pictures, they're always in the graduation gowns. And the reason why
Yeah.
is the police always ask for a picture that they can show, or the media does. And what do you think the parents are going to give them? They go to and they
Yep.
dig out their the picture of their boy in their
Trayvon
graduation
Martin when he was 12. Like, you know.
gown. Hang on. How did you
Yeah.
know?
Yes. Because that's the yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they do.
Yep.
So it's not really the media's fault so much. It's not like
That
they
it
ask,
is.
"Hey, we want a good picture, a really clean one." This is
The
what the parents give them.
the media has social media, and they could do a little Google search of this person's social media and pull up a photo if they really wanted to.
Oh,
It
sure.
is blame the media. It's the media's fault.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I go along with that. Um, but when black boys die, their worst photos are resurrected, and I think that that is a total lie.
Yeah. It's the opposite for sure.
Um, what kind of mother and father raise a child who feels entitled to dictate another student's place under a tent at a school event?
It's
Now,
not his
here's
school.
okay, well, here's the thing. And I actually was going to put out a video on this, and I can even ask the question here, and I'll do it a little bit later. But if you are, first of all, yes, it's school property, but it's your tent.
Yeah, exactly.
It's your, it's what your team paid for, and it's
Well,
what you spent the time erecting.
they have the teams separated
Sure,
for a reason. Like,
and
what if they were strategizing on the next relay race or something like that? They
well,
don't
just
want somebody from the other team in there.
but this is also competition. These are sporting events.
Yeah.
You know, you look upon the person from the other school as kind of like, subhuman. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if I have my Oklahoma Sooners tent and I see somebody from a Texas Longhorn fan sitting underneath it, out, get out.
Yep.
I mean, probably not really, but these are. I mean, I'm old
But
enough
if
to
you were
kind of
a
know better.
team, like, you
But these,
there's a
yeah, these
reason
are,
why the sidelines are separated at football games. They're
yeah,
not all next to each other.
and these are 17-year-olds. They
Mhm.
take this competition thing pretty seriously. So I don't see anything ridiculous about a track star from one team throwing another team thing out from underneath his tent.
Yeah.
I mean, and keep in mind, I don't know what Carmelo's reaction was when they told him, "Hey, you got to leave." Um,
We do know
and
what his reaction was. His reaction was, "Make me.
yeah,
Touch
I
touch
agree.
me and see what happens."
That's what the
That was his
witnesses say.
reaction.
That was what the witnesses say. Yeah, and by the way, the witnesses told the police this
Yeah.
probably could be trusted, but not
I
always. You know,
Immediately, this was what was reported.
right,
Immediately.
right. They didn't, like formulate this thing, an hour or two afterwards.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
okay. Oh, and let's see who taught him that his body, his voice, his dominance would not be questioned, and that a black boy who didn't obey was a threat.
He was the team leader from what I understood. So, he's would be the one to say if the coach wasn't there, he would be the one to say, "Hey, you're in the wrong spot. Your tent is over there, buddy." You
And
know?
even if Carmelo letting him sit underneath the tent was no big deal, at 17-year-old, you could sometimes take these things a little too seriously.
Yeah.
And when the coach would say, "Hey, man, come on, just lighten up a little bit."
Mhm.
Oh, okay, so maybe Austin was a little bit aggressive in it, but at 17 years old, they take the sports thing very seriously. I can see it happening. It doesn't
Yes.
make him an evil person.
Exactly. Yep. Well,
Okay.
according to the Black Enterprise News magazine, yes, evil, and his
Oh,
parents were
yeah.
evil. So,
Oh,
his whole
now by the way,
family,
though,
probably
I
generations.
I must apologize. The Black Enterprise magazine did a great job here. Listen to this. To be clear, there's also a fake autopsy report circulating online claiming that Austin Metcalf had drugs in his system when he died. That report is false and spreading it is wrong. We don't need to stoop to misinformation to make
Wow.
a point. Pretty great, isn't it? I mean, they're coming out and saying,
Amazing.
hey, there's one magazine that's not going to allow any propaganda on its pages. It's Black Enterprise.
Yep.
They comb through and they say, wait, this could be incorrect. We got to get rid of it because we don't spread propaganda here. Okay. Well, hey,
Right.
by the way, okay, look, they even have a video on this. Let's go and check this out.
Okay.
They said the cause of death was a drug overdose, and he had blood loss via stab wounds. But they're saying he died from a drug overdose, allegedly. This is the autopsy.
Was he George Floyd?
So he was high out his mind and decided to go mess with that boy Carmelo Anthony, who was minding his business, sitting down, minding his business, taking pictures, posting guns, throwing up gang signs.
In their article where they say we disavow any kind of propaganda, they put a video,
They embed a video of propaganda.
a very can you
Lovely.
believe this?
Lovely.
Now keep in
By the way,
mind,
that's not a gang sign. That means I love you.
oh yeah, I mean if that's a gang sign, then it's the biggest gang in
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
And but keep in mind, this was not accidental. They put this in there for a reason because they know that people don't always read a lot, especially their subscribers. They don't necessarily read a lot, and they're just going to pick on the video. And they're going to now take this and they're going to go to other outlets and say he had drugs in his system.
Yep.
That's who we're dealing with. Oh my God. At
Oh,
any
they
rate,
mentioned George Floyd in this. I said that. I'm like, what is he, George Floyd? He died of a drug
everybody,
overdose.
she did not go through this beforehand.
Wow.
You're good. How many times have we been told that a black victim had marijuana in their system, as if that makes a bullet or a chokehold more acceptable?
No, but fentanyl does.
They
Consuming a
said that,
fistful of fentanyl
yeah,
definitely.
they
Dude,
said George Floyd had fentanyl in his bloodstream and heart disease. Well, they're trying to
8
find out.
times what would kill a
Yeah,
normal person, I believe
but,
it was.
but
This is
even
just from my noggin, so but I
but
believe
even
it
if
was
it
either
was a
4 or 8
small amount or
times.
even no amount, the
Yeah.
reason why they're looking is because they're trying to find out why he died.
Yeah, he said he couldn't breathe before when he was in the back of the cop car, he said he couldn't breathe.
Yeah. I'll
And
skip the Eric Garner one because I don't remember that one too much. I kind of know what it's about.
that was the
It's,
cigarette one. Was that the
yeah, the
one
New
that when
York
he was
City
selling
one.
loose cigarettes or something? Yeah, I don't. It was a long time ago.
They dug into Breonna Taylor's past, looking for anything that could explain why she was shot in her own home because they wanted
I
to
just
find out
covered
the
that
warrant.
case. I
Oh,
literally just covered that case on my channel like 2 weeks ago.
I have
Because
about
she was a
4 videos
cuckoo
on
bird. That's why.
it. But they're trying to find out if the warrant was legit. That's why they're looking into it.
Yeah.
This is investigative journalism. Sorry. Sometimes when you do investigative journalism, the stuff comes back that's not very
Oh,
comfortable.
you know what I just realized? It wasn't Breonna Taylor that I covered. It was another woman that
Oh,
got
really?
shot in her home.
Yeah,
I
I
can't
have a
remember her
number of
name right
videos
now.
on Breonna Taylor. And by the way, Breonna Taylor is a perfect example of the hypocrisy because I bet you don't know about what was it, the name of that street?
Didn't the
It's in
cop go
Houston.
to like get charged with that for
Yeah,
for shooting into an unoccupied, like it went through a wall or something like that.
right.
I
It was
believe
for reckless something. I forget. But
the police officer was charged in that case.
mhm. What a lot of people don't realize is that in Houston,
Mhm.
the police busted into with a no-knock warrant, shot the family dog, and shot both people dead. And the warrant was faked. The actual the cop claimed that he had information from an informant that did not exist, and they ended up killing two people and a dog over it. The
So
people
I
that
didn't hear
got it,
about this. Let me guess, the people were white that
the
this
people
happened
were
to?
white, and you want
Yeah.
to guess the color of the officers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, of course I hadn't heard of that one.
yeah, right. And look, I mean, I'm not making any claims that any one race is more prone to anything, right? But in terms of fairness here, they're trying to make the claim that we exacerbate whenever we hear of a black person being a instigator. No, it's just the opposite.
Yeah.
um I can't even remember the
Also
names of the people involved, and I'm sure
also
that people,
I've read the FBI crime statistics. Some people are more prone to these things than others.
I'm not making any claims on it. I'm saying that that's not
You don't have to. I am. That's
okay.
fine.
That's fine. I mean, freedom of speech. But it's like this idea somehow that, oh, I'll give you another example. Kid is playing with his Wii in Georgia. You should know about this one. He's
I don't.
playing with his Wii, right? The little game thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Cop knocks on the door looking to serve a warrant on his dad. He opens it up. She shoots him dead.
Wow.
17, he was going into the military. He had signed up. He wanted to go into the Marine Corps. And all he had was a Wii controller in his hand.
We don't hear about these cases. There's a
No,
reason we don't hear about these cases.
yeah. In fact, one of the things my early videos was always in comparison. Here's a case involving a black person. Here's a case involving a white person. Why do we hear about one more than the other?
Because we don't have the say her name campaigns going on and the
Exactly.
burning down of cities going on.
Oh, by the way, for your sovereign citizen one,
Mhm.
KFAR might know about this one, but when the police shot a sovereign citizen dead outside a dog shelter, have you seen that one?
I don't recall off the top.
It
There's
was
so
in Alabama.
many cases rattling around in my head. I
Yeah, but it was
don't
in
remember.
Alabama. The police officer, a female police officer, pulled a gun, stuck it in the guy's stomach, and pulled the trigger. And he had no chance because the
Yeah.
gas is blowing out of that gun. It's
Yeah.
just going to scramble everything inside him.
Yeah.
And he was a sovereign citizen, and his crime was he wouldn't give up his driver's license.
Wow.
And that was one of my very first videos. And I wonder if KFAR knows about it. But he was doing the whole sovereign citizen thing, right?
Yeah.
But the case in Atlanta where they burned the Wendy's down,
I remember that one.
well, they mirrored each other almost perfectly. But
Really?
yeah, but we didn't hear about one, and we heard a lot about the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so at any rate, let's get down with some really good stuff here. I don't know, there's more on here, but you can go and find the link in the description and read it yourself here. But I want to get, oh, here we go. Are they kind of white parents who share back the blue post and said Kyle Rittenhouse was just protecting himself when he brought a weapon of war to a protest? Good God.
He brought a weapon to protect the businesses that were being burned down the 3 previous days before. Or was it
He
2
was just
yeah.
protecting himself.
Yeah. He didn't bring it to the protest. He brought it to the business that he was protecting because there was a protest in the area.
Yeah.